So let's just get warmed up, okay? We're gonna get right into it since it's a shorter class. Let's just stand up for a moment. If you're like me here in my three-story townhouse, it's about 80 degrees up here in the top level, so almost turned on my AC. Let's get warmed up here. Stand up nice and tall, close your eyes, start to breathe. And what we wanna do to warm up, it's common sense, is to move the body, okay? And you guys know this is one of my favorite. As you can see, I'm kind of sore today. I've been working out hard, so I would start really soft. My right knee is a little achy, my lower back's a little stiff. So, depending on how your body's feeling, that's how you do this motion, okay? If you're feeling good, you can get into it a little bit more. But try to having that core integrity. So right from the start, we're tuning into our body. We're not forcing anything on it, okay? I'm starting to breathe deep in and out the nose. Okay? So we're only going to do just a brief warm-up, and then we're going to be more into that stretch class, even though this is flexibility too. So that's the arm swinging. Now watch me here. Nice little arm circle and squat, okay? So we're getting back to some of those fundamentals, the basics. Notice I'm not squatting necessarily deep. It is a warm-up, but if it feels good, you go a little lower, okay? Squeeze that butt a little bit at the top. Remember, yogis, we want to breathe too, so wake up the respiratory tract. Throughout your day, your breath might be very shallow. I want you to get air into the spaces of the inner thoracic, the chest cavity, by breathing deeper, okay? And, try not to let your chest go too far forward. We will hinge, but this is more of like a squat, right? So notice my chest doesn't really go that far forward at all. It's more like my hips going back and down. And you can reverse directions, okay, with your arms. All right, so that next movement is for your hip joints and your pelvic tilt and your spine. So it looks like this. Welcome, everyone. It's good to be back on these night classes. All right, so we're doing our warm-up, okay? I can only teach for about 45, 50 minutes tonight. I have a 7 o'clock appointment I gotta make, okay? So we're gonna circle here. Then circle the opposite direction. And if you want to get a little bit more into it, it looks like this, right? You're kind of more dance-like. You just move that body, move those hips, bend those knees too a little bit. You can even go a little bit like this. Right, so we started with this, in case you came in a little after, right? A nice little twist. We did the squatting with the circling, okay? And then we did the lateral, and then the big hip kind of like swivel, okay? Now we do that hip hinging I was mentioning. It's like your first real big stretch, in a sense. Be easy though, okay? You're gonna bend those knees, roll your shoulders back and down. I want you to pull the ribs in, so good posture here. And then you're just gonna hinge, keep your weight into your toes, back up, okay? So they call this like a Romanian deadlift. It is a type of deadlift, one of our fundamental type weight lifts. Basically like a deadlift is basically, they call it that because you literally just bend over like this, pick up dead weight, and then just put it back down. That's deadlift. Here it's called the Romanian, is where the legs stay more straight and you hinge the hips more. So it's like that. I'm using it a little bit more for a warm up, so you keep that spine nice and long, okay? Uh-oh, what happened? Did you guys lose me? Hold on one sec, technical difficulties. All right, we'll go with my computer camera. It's not as good, but it'll work. All right, so you did that. Let's do one more big warm up for those arms and those legs, okay? As I inhale, my left foot steps back, my arms go up. As I exhale, you can even go something like this, okay? It's right foot back, arms up and down. It's a lunge. You could go deeper if you want, but you don't have to. So you're just stepping one foot back, kind of maybe reaching your arms up and binding, stepping it forward. It is the step back, yogis. It's that first time you're really going to get into this big hip flexor. So as my leg goes back and my arms go up, I'm lengthening that whole front body. Just don't overarch your back, okay? So hopefully you're building up a little sweat. That's what we want. We want a good warm-up, yogis. All right, and some of you are probably very warm already. Been a hot one today. Almost considered turning my AC on, but I'm trying to avoid paying, that extra money. There we go. There's the camera working again. It's a little better, a little clearer maybe. All right, guys, get out of there. Give it one of these. Just shake it out here. Now, just last few movements here, and then we're gonna stretch. So I do want you to stay focused on movement, right? Keep breathing, make sure we stand tall. Remember that in biomechanics, I've said this before, that there's this common rule to really remember always is that posture affects function and functions affects posture. So we always keep that standard of posture is the priority, okay? And then I'm gonna circle my shoulders. So we did arm circles, but this is what we call a scapular circle. So my arm bone doesn't really move. It looks like it is, but it's more the whole shoulder girdle. This tends to be overlooked in fitness, where the scapula, this big bone up here, is moving in space. That's what was actually moving more. So if you're just joining, we're getting these scapular circles in, okay? It's really important to remember that we tend to think shoulder joints and not scapular movements as much. And we also tend to think hip joints and not like pelvic movement as much like a cat-cow might do, okay? Let's keep going, yogis. Chin down, chin up. Chin down, chin up. Last few. Dynamic stretching, active. Now remember, I do want you to try to keep the tongue, your lips are sealed, your teeth touch barely, not clench obviously, right? And the tongue is at the top of the mouth, not just the tip. So as I go up, the tongue is pulling up to the top of the mouth, and you try to keep it there. Okay, now next one here, it's the neck rotation. Look over your right shoulder and look over your left shoulder. That's it. So you're just kind of like peeking over your left shoulder and your right shoulder. Don't let like your head tilt. It's a rotation of your neck, okay? Last few, please. All right, yogis, take a moment there. Just roll out your wrists. Wiggle those fingers, please. So this is just like, we call it like body maintenance. We're just going through all those little joints in the body. Did some shoulders, did some hips, did some knees. Last little thing I want to do is those ankles. One of my favorite exercises is that just little calf raise. It can really be a game-changing exercise, and it's so simple. You really don't need to be warmed up. You do want to be aware that this can strain the arch of the foot, but I'm just kind of lifting those heels and putting them back down. Now, you don't have to go that high. You can also kind of do one at a time. If you tend to have like achiness or pain in the arch, you always want to, give your body some time to get into it. If you haven't done this in a few years or whatever, be easy, okay? So I'm just basically lifting those heels. And then I'm lowering them down. Last few. I always recommend like trying to do that on your morning walk. Even if you can put your heels on a step down a little and go hyper range, man, that's gonna really change your body a lot, okay? All right, first stretch here, hold. You can widen your feet, come to the top of your mat. Maybe have blocks out in front of you. You want a big one, you go here with your arms. See how I intertwine my fingers behind me? Easier, hands on hips, let's bend those knees, start to reach for the floor. Few breaths here. Now this is that first inversion, yogi, so head drops below the heart. So breathe deep, okay? We are going to get into the stretching more now, okay? One more movement though for now. I don't want you to hold that too long because sometimes it puts a lot of tension through the lower back. So we're going to step back and do our final, let's call it warm-up movement, the good old cat-cow, but even more free. I start by inhaling, arching, anterior tilting. I exhale and round and posterior tilt. Inhale, exhale. Start to move the head a little bit with it. Start to move the core. And move that body, yogis, okay? You can't go wrong with cat-cow. A lot of times I'm telling you in class to not arch your back or not round your spine. Here I'm telling you to do it. But, you know, there's not a lot of weight or you know, lack of flexibility in that position, so you can move freely without too much strain, okay? All right, downward dog, guys. Let's stretch out those calves. And I am using this to stretch your underarm. It's called your lat. So it's a big muscle right here is being stretched as well. Let's take a few breaths. You know, if you were in shoes all day, I want you to pedal out those toes. All right, we did our calf raises, but now it's a little bit more of a stretch. So downward dog, please. And we got all regulars tonight. You know, I love to see you guys adding your own little flavor in there. We're here to listen to our own body. You're open to what I'm doing, but don't be shy. You want to throw in a stretch because your body tells you need it. You can't really, you know, say that enough. That's one of the key aspects of a really functional practice. Functional means what do you need, right? All right, let's do it, guys. First big stretch. It is that glute max and that psoas. They oppose each other. We warmed up the main one with that lunge. So we're going to meet with our right foot stepped outside our right hand. Now you might want blocks. So from the front angle, I'm here. Okay. What I want to do with the right foot outside the pinky is crawl my left foot back. Okay. So this is our posture. For those of us who want a little bit more strength training, you could always keep your back knee lifted. Maybe bring your forearms on blocks or even on the floor. But I do want to remember to hug my right knee in for now. So don't let the knee like bow out here. Okay. Try to keep the big toe of the right foot pressing down. Okay. A few more breaths, please. Now there is a really big version. It's not for everyone. I like to mention options because, you know, I'm not exactly sure what you need or what your objective here in this class is. If you're looking to get really flexible, you might reach your right arm up and back. You might bend your left knee and grab that foot behind it. Pull the heel to the butt, twist a little bit. So this is a really big stretch, okay? Last 30, 40 seconds only. Do not feel pressured to take the big versions. They're not necessarily better for you. Okay, big inhale, please. Let's do our second side. So take a moment. It's nice to circle your hip out a little bit or shake, roll out the ankle. And you just take a moment to neutralize any sensations. And that's different day by day, all right? Left foot outside left pinky. I do want that knee over the heel. And I want you to crawl that right foot back to get space in those under, like deep under thighs. So that's maybe the toughest part, just to walk that knee back. And then you descend in. You go about a minute and a half total here, okay? Breathe. Relax. Try to reduce fidgeting. Now, some of us did the big version where your left arm goes up and back, and you grab that right foot kind of behind you, across the body. It's not commonly understood that actually lengthening muscles uses a lot of energy. It's commonly known, like you go lift weights or, contract your muscles, it's going to use a lot of energy. But, some studies have shown that actually lengthening a muscle uses more energy than contracting it. You wouldn't really think that. But it's very interesting that when a stretch class can, it can give you energy because it's going to increase blood flow, but it can also make you sleep better. You're going to use up some of that energy, and it's a good thing to remember that stretching also demands a lot of energy. People are like, it's an off day, I'm going to stretch, right? But little do they know they're actually consuming a lot of energy on that off day. It's really not like an off day. A true off day is not doing much, right? And resting. All right. So you're going to finish that up, guys. Shake it out. So really I'm considering that a back bend because we're stretching that front right hip flexor, okay? Now I want to go right for a bigger variation of that. I'm going to do this one tonight for hamstrings. We did the dynamic hamstring and touch our toes. This gets on those inner thighs a lot, and then that leg is going to straighten more. So straddle. If you don't want to do this, you could do butterfly or something like that, okay? But let's get those legs wide. 3 parts tonight. We're going to do the side stretch here if you're up for it. If not, cross your shins. Left arm goes up. So it is a side bend. Left arm goes up and over past the left ear. This is a shorter hold. It's a double psoas traction. I'm going to lengthen my right side, twist my chest up to the left, reach up with that left arm. And remember, yogis, it's a balance of effort and relaxation. So you do have to use a little bit of muscular contraction and active energy, but then you relax a little. Okay, second side. You go slow. That's your deepest lower back muscle, guys. Go slow, yogis. It is like the 3 parts, so think symmetry after that. We just walk our hands forward. The real main goal is to spread your thighs laterally. We spread the thighs forward and back. Now we're spreading them laterally. That's the whole thing. Everything else is secondary, okay? Just keep those legs open to the sides, whether they're bent or straight. All right, guys, big inhale, please. Let's keep it going. Take your time, bend your knees, maybe help your legs back together. The more your body gets used to this stuff, the easier it is going to be to get in and out with, less of that kind of time needed to neutralize. All right, so now we're going to go to our back bend. That's a forward bend, asymmetrical, like a lunge, forward bend, back bend. Did our side bend. I'm going to give 2 options tonight. Let's lay down on our chest, please. And it is the Sphinx. Now, you could do Cobra. If you came in a little after we started, I apologize. I can only do about a 45 to 50 minute class this evening. I have to be somewhere at 7, then I can't change. So I'm moving a little faster, all right? So we're trying to mix in some of these bigger versions earlier in class. This is what it looks like to start, and that's more than enough, yogis. Elbows under shoulders, shoulders back and down, chest lift, pubic bone down, legs a little active. Now, if you want a bigger stretch, you do Cobra. You could go up and down a few times too, if that's really calling to you. I just tend to mix up methods. It's not like there's a best one a certain day for you necessarily that I know. If you want a really big version, so I gave Sphinx and Cobra, it looks like this, where my right hand reaches back. But I do want to roll my right shoulder forward, press my right hip down, okay, and pull that navel forward and up. Got about another minute 15 left or so in the stretch. So if you are doing a one-legged bigger variation, okay, let's switch sides, please. Be right back, yogis. My doggy just ran downstairs. So hopefully you're done there about with your second side. Take a moment to release your chest. And remember, rotation is a really nice release after a back bend. So we did some good. We did hip flexors and glutes. We've done hamstrings and inner thighs. Most of us did the quads there. So our legs are almost done, right? Let's get to our chest. The upper body, you guys know it, one of my favorites. Right arm reaches out to the right, push through my left hand. Okay, try to relax your head down. Look at my left leg kind of reaches behind me. Just get comfortable and relax, yogis. It's stretch class tonight, okay? Nice, looks good. And here we want to learn to direct the breath a little bit more into the chest to start. So I usually don't cue a lot of chest breathing, but here it might be a good idea. And who knows, maybe you feel in the abdomen a lot, or even like that top hip as the leg goes back. A lot of places to feel this, guys. Try to get the breath into that space that you feel it right now. And it's quite simple, guys, depending on how your body's feeling. I don't want to necessarily determine the time for you, because you're going to come along in this class and one of these stretches is really going to be hitting you. And you're like, ooh, that one I need, I can tell. That's the space you want to just pause and have extra time in, okay? Left arm eventually out, push through that right hand, go to that second side. I didn't mention the second variation, but it is that bent arm more. Just notice, I don't want the elbow tucked in or the shoulder lifting. Pretty much in all the exercises, you're always looking for subconscious movements of the shoulder girdle, okay? Go ahead, second side when you're ready. Nice job, everyone. Take your time there. Eventually, we're going to kind of roll to our chest. Might feel good again to, I'm a big fan of adding these kind of what I call like self-care movements or therapeutics, where you're just kind of massaging your body out. So good. Okay? If you need a quick child pose, that might be good here. I'm not going to hold you long. but if you want to, I totally get it. It's such a great posture. All right, yogis, let's rise up. Let's do a little bit more of the smaller body parts there, the wrists. My favorite, the fingers flip toward the knees. This is one that I just teach all the time because what it does is it gets what's called your spiral alignment. So this like kind of rotational aspect to your arm, and it gets like the forearm, the wrist. Just hard to beat. There's just so many little good things happening here. You lean back and forward a little bit. Now, you might not be able to get your fingers all the way flipped around. Just notice I went out and then back, not inward. I didn't turn my fingers inward, okay? They're facing my knees. I'm leaning a little forward and back. Okay? And when I do my wrists, these are like the main two I do. Sometimes I do medial stretch. But when I'm just kind of running through them quick, that would be the lateral rotation and that big flexor stretch. Then I'll turn my fingers forward, and you guys know it, I teach it a lot, it's the back of the hand down. I like to suggest one hand at a time, just so you can be a little bit more relaxed, okay? I work on straightening the elbow crease and rolling it forward more. So if you can see my right arm here, so my right arm is this one there, watch my elbow works on straightening. Now watch the elbow crease. So the hand doesn't move on the floor at all, but the elbow crease rolls forward, and that is that rotational quality also being added to this one, okay? So last breath or two on your first side. Yeah, your palm is face up. Yeah, okay, second side. Again, if that's one you need, take longer, okay? This one might hurt a little. Yeah, this one took a really long time for me to get just used to, and now it's pretty easy most days. Just keep working at it. You're redesigning that body, all right? Now, when you're done with the wrist, I want to do one more shoulder, and I want to do the ankles together here. So let's kill two birds with one stone. I want to sit right on those ankles. We need a lot of this in yoga, all right? Got to compress those ankles, stretch our front shin and ankle. Right arm goes across the body. Left forearm grabs right forearm, kind of hooks. Nice, simple, isolated stretch. It is active. By that, I mean I work on straightening my right elbow, pulling with the left arm, but also my right shoulder kind of pulls back in space. So hopefully you feel a stretch, maybe like right in the outer shoulder here, okay? Last couple breaths on your first side. If you can't sit on your ankles, sometimes you put like a lot of pillows back there between your buttocks and your heels, or you put pillows under your shins, blocks under your butt. It's tough. You know, when I started yoga, I couldn't really do this at all. All right, second side, left forearm across. Notice my palm is faced behind me. This is something I teach personally, is a lot of lateral rotation in yoga, because everyone's shoulders that you see, most people, shoulders are kind of rotated forward, all right? And I want to work on more of this kind of pulling our shoulders rotated laterally like that, okay? So we just did like two of them. We did this one too, okay? So there's a reason I'm doing that. It's kind of like a pattern, an imbalanced pattern of our life. Arms are always in front, kind of here, okay? All right, yogis, we did our ankles, okay? We did our wrists, we did the shoulders, this way, this way, this way, okay? Get out of there. Now I want to do our outer hips. Couple options for you. If you want to just do a cross-legged flexing of the feet, notice I do cross my shins, I forward fold. If you prefer to land your back and do your figure four, oh, that's a good one. Oh, if you want to do compressive pigeon, that's where I lay here. And just like our lunge earlier, now I step the right foot forward, outer right shin down. See that one? Remember, yogis, my foot doesn't have to be forward up here. It can be down by my left hip. That's totally fine. Walk your left foot back, just like the lunge though, okay? Left hip down a little bit, maybe coming down. So let's pick one of those for another good 45 seconds or so. Breathe in. Take your time, let's sit up. If you need more time, no rush. Good idea to shake it out, especially if you do compression variation. Compression just means that you're putting weight on it, right? Second side, you're like squeezing it via the weight. All right, I like this one tonight. For me, it's like bilateral. My hips are super sore feeling. So I get kind of like both legs twice if I do it like this, all right? Go ahead, let's take it down to your second variation. If you're on your back, just try to relax your head down if you're doing that figure four. You notice where you're kind of over tensing. Try to relax where you can. All right, yogis, please take your time. Whenever you're done, I'm just gonna kind of keep demoing so I don't spend a lot of time in between, a little bit shorter of a class, okay? Let's make our way down to our back. So this is gonna be deepest twist of class. You're more than welcome to sit up and do it actually, but this is a deep one here where I cross the right thigh over the left. That bottom hooked knee is gonna pull the top knee further. Another big version is more like this, that single leg. How about you choose one you do less of? That's always good, yogis, to try new things or just recognize your kind of preference there. Easier version is just like feet on the floor, knees together, knees over. The more I bring my knees in, the deeper the twist most likely is going to be. Okay, reach your right arm out and go into that breath work here. My favorite space to really use the breath for deep release is in a twist. Okay, go ahead, your twist of choice. Usually we don't want to hold twists too long, especially like the deepest twist. Twists tend to be a place where people can, your body's not used to twisting that deep. It's not doing it regularly. So, you might as well be easy about it. Okay, we'll come back to center. And then you'll do your second side. It is good if your knees go right to scoot your hips a little left. That's just going to keep your spine a little bit like longer. You're not going to have any kind of like unconscious arching, bending. So a couple more breaths here on that second side. Okay, and then you're gonna, at your own pace, you're gonna finish that up. All right, Yogi. So listen, at this point, I want to bring it into a couple more. I love restorative yoga, and I wish I would had one more regularly on this. I tend to just mix them in, the gentle and even the strong. Restorative bridge is fantastic. Now, we did do 2 hip flexor releases, Sphinx and Lizard. Some of us even got a little bit of it in pigeon if you were upright maybe. But I want to do a restorative posture. You're on your feet all day. It's really good to put your legs up in the air to elevate your legs. It's also really good to elevate your pelvis. If you feel like you have a little energy, next week I do plan right now to teach both Monday night and Wednesday night. So I'm gonna maybe do one like gentle strengthening type mixed class, maybe one the flexibility on Monday. But if you want to mix in like a bridge here or something, man, that's so good for you right now. But I'm not gonna do that tonight. But you can't really go wrong with that. If you want to take the more restorative route, maybe a block here under your butt. That's really feeling good to me right now. And if you get swelling in your legs or your feet, you feel like there might be some stagnation or stiffness, or this is probably a good one here, guys. So just get those legs up. I like to say put the legs up the wall. That'll just support them better. Notice they don't need to be locked straight or anything. You're getting them up there. You can use a pillow if this block is too much. I like the pillow because it does encourage the pelvic inversion too, which means your pelvis now goes above your heart too, not just your legs. And that's going to make this even more profound. Now, I'm going to give you options, okay? Because we will do Shavasana as well. My other favorite here, down here, it's the restorative fish, they call it, where the block is not under my hips. My hips are on the floor. I have to sit up and I lay back here, with the block under my chest. I could even bring the soles of my feet together. Okay, so how about we pick one of those? I mean, you have time for both, really. But I will give you one more round of options after this, okay? Let's take another good, maybe 2 minutes. Maybe doing a little breath work here. If the breath is hasn't been a focus, maybe a slow down the mind and the body here, and just nice slow inhale in your nose. And a nice slow exhale. At this point in class, we stretch the whole body. So if there's any really soft positions you want to do too, it doesn't have to be anything that I'm suggesting. I've kind of opened it up to where it can be anything from your routine too. It can be a core strengthener. I mentioned bridge. We didn't do balance work tonight, so you're always welcome to throw that in. If you feel like standing back up. All right, now I do want to give you one more kind of option depending on what you're feeling. They're both restorative options. So if you want to stay where you're at, no worries, you've done enough. A nice little neck traction here. So if you had your knees open, you might want to knock them together. You remove your block slowly. And then you see how I take the block underneath the base of my skull? So that's like a neck traction, like it's like a massage therapist getting their fingers up on the base of the skull, kind of pulling the head away from the shoulders a little bit. So you'll get a nice neck stretch here. But then what I like to add is this very, very subtle kind of rocking. It's massage, right? Where it kind of getting into that occipital area. Occipital is 8 little muscles that connect like your spine to your skull, they tend to be quite tight on a lot of people. You know, you're looking down a lot or you're at the cell phone. So they're like stressed. One other last option for me, guys, would be the shoulder compression. So I roll onto my left, no block, right arm up. Remember this one from previous classes? Right arm goes behind you, palm face away. I roll with my palm down. Just lay on the arm for a few breaths. I love this one. Can't do everything every class, so if there's one that's calling to you, you take that. This is going to be our final pose of class. So if you'd rather do knees into your chest, happy baby, or plow, swing your legs above your body, please do that now. I'm going to give you the last 2 minutes before we take closing meditation. Okay, maybe you start thinking about switching sides, or if you're doing something, you want to do one last thing. So remember, guys, tonight is a stretch class, and you know, I necessarily wouldn't just personally stretch every Wednesday or every Monday like a schedule has. So you guys are kind of at, you know, whatever I choose to teach on a certain night, whether you want it or not, that's what you get. How I do my exercise is based on what I wake up. If I haven't strengthened in a couple of days, I'll probably most likely strengthen. And I would use more a couple stretches, you know, to kind of warm up, loosen up. And then after I do a couple of days of strengthening or a really good day, there are days where I only stretch. So just some food for thought. You know, if I'm doing stretch class Monday or Wednesday and you want to show up and just throw in some of those, a plank, a lunge, add strengthening to a flex class, by all means, go ahead. All right. Because that's better. It's better to try to get better at recognizing what your body needs, whether it's a certain pose or a certain type of exercise, movement or stillness or a nap. Okay. So listen, guys, when you're done with your final pose, I just want to at least do our minimum in yoga. Some of the yogis say 2-minute minimum. It's really short. I like to try to go 3-minute minimum. And, you know, it's extra 50% from the 2 minutes, so it's a lot. And it's just a meditation. And that means just kind of calming the body. We did a lot of big stretches. Did some pretty good standing movements tonight. So it's good to just kind of, as the yogis would say, sit and be. You don't do anything. You just sit and be. You don't breathe deep, you don't exercise, you try not to even think if you can, right? As a thought comes in, you just watch it pass. You don't subjectively get into that thought, you just observe it pass. Okay. So you get yourself comfortable, whether it's laying or seated. You kind of shake your shoulders out or, you fidget a little to get comfortable. Comfort's key. Okay. And then you just close your eyes, and as you might have heard it called the trance, you just relax mentally and physically to close practice here for another 3 minutes.